about some changes that I've had coming up, and I hope to add value as we go into not a terribly deep dive, but a little bit of a conversation about how we all deal with change differently based on who we are and what that change is. So today, I want to talk about the first change that I'm sharing with you right now. In fact, that change is going live on LinkedIn and YouTube concurrently. It makes me a little nervous. And why? I've been on big stages in front of thousands of people. I've been on video webinars in front of hundreds of people. So why did pushing go live this morning make me a little nervous in front of you? Well, I want to tell you a little bit about who I am so you can understand a little bit about why that one change, that one difference in how I'm delivering some information today made me feel a little nervous, a little hesitant, and how that might help you understand better how you engage with change as well. So first, I want you to fully understand that when it comes to change, when it comes to dealing with change, it's really all about you. It's not so much exactly what the change is, it's you and how you're going to interact with that change. That was something that it took me a while to learn because, to be honest, when it comes to change, I was kind of like a bull in a china hutch. I would just bowl in and pass through the change and tackle it and bring everybody along that was willing to follow me on that journey. Over time, I found that there were certain changes that I was hesitant about, that I would shy away from. Not too many, and I'll explain why in a minute, but there was definitely some. As I became aware of those changes, and unfortunately not becoming aware of them because I was catching it on my own, but because people were pointing it out to me. They were sharing with me, hey, by the way, I appreciate that you're willing to barrel through all of this other change, but what about this one? This one really matters to us. And so I had to step back and evaluate why I was hesitant, why I was not necessarily engaging in that change in a way that others expected me to do so. And as I did, what I found was it wasn't that one act of change so much as it was who I was that was causing the hesitation. So for example, today, in a broadcast live, in a different setting and different space than what I've done before, one of the things of who I am is I like to control the outcome. In fact, I like to be confident in the outcome. Even when I engage in change, I'm usually confident in the outcome of what I can achieve in many aspects of change. But in a broadcast just like this, once it's out there, that outcome is final. No matter how creative I am, no matter how adept I am at adjusting, no matter how flexible I am, it doesn't matter because once it's out there, it's final. So the difference in this act, this change, this transition of delivery for me is that I can't necessarily adjust on the fly if the technology goes wrong. I can't necessarily adjust in the delivery if the concept of what I'm putting across doesn't come out quite the way I planned it. Whereas if I'm on a stage in front of even thousands of people and I have 20 minutes to deliver a concept, an idea, if I sidestep in a direction that I'm not really comfortable with, or I can sense and feel what's going on in the room and I'm not connecting, I can adjust right at that point. But here, I can't see you. I can't hear you. I can't feel your energy. And so my ability to control the outcome here is more limited. And for me, based on who I am, that made me hesitate a little bit more before I pushed that go live button, before I chose to share in this platform, because I can't feel that exchange of energy. Now, I am a very task and outcome focused person, and engaging with people is important to me based on my goals of tasks and outcomes. Over time, I learned to understand the value of those people in the process and in the outcomes, but it wasn't natural for me. So for me, any change that involves a lack of control in the outcome or is really dependent on the response of people can make me a little nervous. If you are unlike me and you're more of a person-focused or relationship-focused individual, then those changes that you interact with that might impact relationships, that could cause some distrust, that could cause sensitive issues to surface. Those are possibly the types of changes that you would hesitate and step away from. Whereas those I'm pretty comfortable with because I'm confident I can get the right outcome by engaging with and pursuing and pushing people. I've seen myself perform in that area. For you, you are very sensitive, potentially, if that's your natural state of relationship-based engagement. You would be very sensitive to the fact that you might damage that relationship. And so your hesitation for that change could produce a better result in the end, a greater buy-in in the end, but might take a little bit longer to produce, a little bit longer to engage, a little bit longer to deliver. And so how do we know who we are? How do we know and anticipate our resistance to those types of changes, those new things that we might engage with? For me, evaluating myself was very critical. I would love to tell you that I did that early on, but that's not the case at all. In fact, it was over time, as I saw my failures interfere with my successes, that I had to step back and look at what was it that was causing those failures to interfere with my success? Why was it that no matter how successful I was in certain areas, I was continuing to fail consistently in others? In the beginning, what I did, which most of us do, is I looked at the change itself. And I looked at the change and looked at the aspect of change and thought, what is it about this change that's the challenge? I evaluated the timing of the change, the interaction of the change, the potential risk and outcome of the change. And I really focused a lot on the change and how that would impact the final outcome. All the time looking outward at everything. What I found was there were some similarities in those changes, but what I was seeing was other people were succeeding very well at those types of changes. So it wasn't necessarily the change that was the problem. Eventually, what I noticed was that those people that were succeeding well at changes and shifts in processes that involved people and relationships, those changes and shifts in processes that allowed more of a delay, some patience, some grace, those people were, well, goodness sakes, they were very different from me. They were more patient people. They were more compassionate people. They valued the relationship first. And I valued the outcome most. And so even though I had focused all of this time on change, and even though I had focused all of the intention on outcome, my failures would always mask my successes because I couldn't embrace all of the opportunities of change that were essential to reach that highest level of potential. Now, in all honesty, I couldn't change who I was. I'm an outcome-based, task-focused, driven individual, and I can't change that. But what I could change is my awareness of how I was interacting with these opportunities, of how I was interacting with these shifts, with these changes, and how I could embrace who I was not and bring it to the table. And in many times, not necessarily adjust who I was, but acknowledge my gaps, acknowledge those challenges, acknowledge that what I was bringing to this process of change was not sufficient to achieve it. And that was the magic. That was the magic in getting those around me that wanted the change, getting those around me even that didn't want the change to say, hey, there's a good outcome here. And she can't do it on her own. And she knows that. So how can we help? That shift in my approach to changes brought a higher level of potential to everything that we were doing in my professional career. The acknowledgement of my deficit in approach to change and embracing change brought a team approach to what I otherwise was achieving successfully in many areas, but failing continually in others. My awareness and your awareness in the process of how you adjust to, adapt to, and embrace change doesn't mean that we're going to change who we are. It doesn't mean we are going to adjust ourselves 100% and be able to change at the core our ability to get excited about change, or our ability to resist change, or our ability to embrace people, or our ability to pursue tasks. We're not going to be able to change that at the core. But what we can do is become aware of those opportunities, become aware of those strengths and weaknesses and potentials for growth within us, acknowledge them, and apply possibly some adjustments in our approach. But more importantly, what we can do is openly acknowledge those gaps as we go through change, as we implement new things, as we embrace potential for where we can go as a team, acknowledging those gaps that we have and asking for others to go along with us on the way. And that is how we build our potential beyond the limits that we hold ourselves naturally. I appreciate the time that you've allowed to share with me today and me with you. I hope this has been of great gain for you. And always remember, your legacy, it is right now. Take care and lead well.